Hey guys, it's that time of the week where I give you my best picks for Fantasy Super Rugby, round 14 coming up. Don't forget, on the channel there's a shorts video less than a minute long that will summarize all the picks in every single position. Check that out if you don't want to know all the details or just need a reference. Otherwise, before we get into the picks, let's have a quick look at the fixtures and see where all the points are going to be scored this week. And first up, we have the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders in Wellington. I'm pretty big on this matchup. I think the Hurricanes are going to be able to put on a really big score against the Highlanders here. The Hurricanes have looked so good since their Brumbies game. They've got so much pace in their attack now. They really proved it against the Chiefs as well, taking them down in Wellington. The Highlanders, by contrast, have floundered in the back half of this year, so I think the Hurricanes could really put them to the sword this week, and I will be picking my full allotment of 4 players from the Canes in the backs. After that, we have the Tars versus the Crusaders in Sydney. I'm pretty big on the Crusaders here. They're a team that is in another league. They are a top team. The Waratahs are not. Have to be a little bit wary though. The Waratahs have been quite strong at home. They tipped up the Brumbies there. They tipped up the Chiefs as well. This Crusaders team is also a bit depleted as well, missing some big names like Cody Taylor, Will Jordan, Scott Barrett, so got to be a little bit wary there, but I am still kind of liking the Crusaders here. On the Saturday, we have the draw at home in Lautoka versus the Western Force. Interesting matchup here. We've got the 2 teams that have conceded the most points and the most tries in the competition. The Force really put the Endroa to the sword in Perth when they played earlier in the year. They racked up a lot of maul tries, which is something important to note. But yeah, I mean, this is in Fiji. It's a totally different setting. The draw, they will show up for this one, but I have a feeling this could be like quite a close, high-scoring, open and entertaining game. Conditions are going to be good here as well, or at least they're forecast to be at the moment. So yeah, I think this is a game where, you know, you can draw players from both sides as well. There's a lot of potential here, but it's also an unpredictable one as well, so be aware of that. Saturday night, Moana versus the Blues. This game's been hyped up a bit. Both these teams, it's pretty much a must win for both of them if they want to scrape into that top 6. Happening on the North Shore, home game for Moana, but I mean, it's basically a home game for the Blues as well. And for me personally, I feel like this game's just gonna play out the same way it did about a month ago, where the Blues, they were able to just grind Moana down with their forwards and really control the pace of the game. I don't see any reason why it's going to go differently this week. Not really loving this game for points. If I do draw players from it, it's probably in the forwards. Otherwise, conditions look good for it though, so that's something that could help more points be scored if you do like it. And then lastly, we got Brumbies versus the Reds at GIO in Canberra. Traditionally a pretty tough matchup for both teams, but we saw the Brumbies go to Suncorp earlier in the season. They were 14-0 down. They came from behind and ended up beating the Reds by 13 points. This is probably the matchup I like the least in terms of point scoring, but it does look like conditions are going to be kind of perfect in Canberra at least. So yeah, definitely not a terrible game to draw on, but I do feel like this could be quite close, or if it isn't, it'll be the Brumbies again running away with it at the end as well. Anyway, if we get into the picks now, we will start with the back 3. And yeah, like I said at the start, I'm really big on Canes this week. I think all of the Canes backs are in play this week and very valuable. It's kind of tricky though, because yeah, the Canes players, they're all kind of starting out of position in terms of how they're allocated in fantasy. So the only outside back in the Canes who's actually starting in the outside backs is Nani Punavai, who actually gets a start on the left wing this week instead of on the right wing as he has so far this year. Ruben Love, he's still starting at 10, but I do think he is actually in play this week for this game in particular, mainly because I just really think they're going to go well against the Highlanders. Like, he didn't get great scores here, but these were all kind of tough games for the Hurricanes. Highlanders, it's going to be the softest of the games he's played at 10, but also because Brett Cameron is on the bench. I feel like Brett Cameron's going to come on for Callum Harkin, and Ruben Love will move to 15, because that's got to be the ideal setup going forward from now into the playoffs, right? They want to get Brett Cameron up to speed at 10. They want Ruben Love to play at 15, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be what happens. And if Ruben Love does move to 15 in this game, I mean, yeah, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to really rack up that score as well. So even though he's starting at 10, keep that in mind. I think he is still in play here. But is he better than your other options? Is he a better pick than Punavai, who's going to be starting on the left wing from the start of the game? I'm not sure. It's kind of tricky. He will be a safer option though, because if the Canes do score a lot, he'll be getting the shots at goal, at least until Cameron comes on. So that'll give him a nice little boost is on top of anything he does with ball in hand as well. Getting away from the Canes though, other picks I do like this week. I mentioned I like the Crusaders. So yeah, I think Sevu Reece is back in play. Hasn't put up a lot of big scores in recent weeks. Ever since this Western Force game, he's been getting pretty average scores. A lot of that's because he's been forced into the midfield to play centre because Havili's been getting injured or subbed off or whatever. And did all right against the Chiefs. But I think he could be back this week because the Waratahs are probably the softest opposition he's sort of come up against without having to play at 13. The exception to that would be against the Highlanders, but the Highlanders had so much ball that game, like it was kind of crazy. So yeah, if the Crusaders take control of this Tars game, I think Reece, he's back. He won't get subbed into the midfield because McLeod is on the bench for the Crusaders, so even if Havili gets injured, McLeod will come on, it'll be fine. Sevu Reece will stay out on the wing. I think he's actually on the left wing this time instead of his usual 14 jersey where he's been so good earlier in the year. But yeah, I think this could be a return for Sevu Reece this week. I'm liking him this week a lot. The other Crusaders backs I think are in play as well for the same reason. You got Shea Fihaki on the right wing and Johnny McNichol starting at 15. I believe this will be the first game he's played all year, just going straight into it in the 15 jersey. I don't really rate McNichol that much. I picked Shea Fihaki above him, but yeah, I think I'd just stick with Sevu Reece as the only serious option. Other than that, Corey Toole's been on a tear recently. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore him. I have picked him these weeks as well, and he has rewarded me handsomely, and I'm very grateful for that. Like I said before, though, yeah, I'm not quite sure if it's going to be a steamroll for the Brumbies against the Reds. It is a tougher match than these ones coming up, and if you see here, last time they played the Reds, I mean, they won by 13 points, but it was really off the backs of the forwards' efforts rather than the actual backs themselves. So yeah, he got to try that game, but only 27 points. And if you go and look at Tom Wright and Andy Muirhead, I mean, they weren't getting points in this matchup either. So yeah, it was really about the forwards in that game. It was a bit wet that game though. It is going to be dry in Canberra at least. So I'm not going to say that Corey Toole, isn't a live option. He is, but yeah, not necessarily a top option for me this week. At the moment, I've got Radamaitavuki Neatkins. I don't usually like picking players who are going into a game where they're going to get a hiding, but I mean, sometimes when a team gets a hiding, the winning team, they sort of take their foot off the gas a bit and let the other team back into the game. Get some cheap points. And And Rudamaita I mean, he's been so solid anyway, right? He's getting like 40 plus every game. So, you know, you can't really go wrong with him. And because the Hurricanes game is so expansive, they create a lot, but they also turn over a lot of ball as well. I mean, I think there will be opportunities for Highlanders backs as well. And Rudamaita he is that guy in the Highlanders. So I don't think he's a terrible option. Another option I do actually like though is Lagonamasi. Just this matchup against the Force, like, yeah, like I said, I feel like potentially this could be a high-scoring open game. It is going to be good conditions, and yeah, Lagonamasi, he's sort of the guy you want at the Endura when it's that type of game, right? So I do think the other Endura backs are in play though. I think Rakuro's on the other wing as well. He's on the left wing. I did much prefer it when Lagonamasi was on the left wing. He always seems to do better there. I think he's still going to be a very strong option, even at 14. And I think those force backs are in play as well. Harry Potter got rested this week, unfortunately. Otherwise, I definitely would have picked him up. But Kurtley Beale, he's at fullback. I think he's been pretty good, to be honest. Doesn't have the pace he used to, but one thing I really like about the way he's played is that he's always brought the ball up from the back, right? He doesn't really favor kicking, so for fantasy, that's kind of the type of fullback that we really like. And he's not just cutting it up and trying to use his own pace because he's so old. He's bringing it up and he's looking to set up his outsides, and he does that well, and he'll be good for line break assists and that type of thing. So not a bad option. And also Matt Greeley as well. He's going to be on one of the wings. I think he's on the left wing. Yeah, I don't think he'll be a bad option at all, Matt Greeley, if you do like the force in that game. And on the other wing, they have Bailey Kunzu as well, who is in the midfield. So not really one for discussion here, but that probably about covers it for all the outside backs this week, actually, from my perspective. Not really interested in these Blues and Moana backs that much, nor in these Reds backs, and not in these Waratahs backs either against the Crusaders. Although one thing to note is that Andrew Callaway, now that Suolii's injured, Andrew Callaway gets the 15 jersey back, which will be a lot better for him than playing on the right wing where he's been pretty quiet. But yeah, up against the Crusaders, I mean, that's a tough defense to breach, right? Like I don't think those Tars backs are going to be having a field day. And moving on to the midfield, this is where things get pretty tricky this week, because yeah, we got a lot of outside backs sort of crammed into this midfield position. I mean, Billy Proctor, he's been the guy ever since he came back in that Brumbies game. Well, he came off the bench against the Force, but yeah, in that Brumbies game he started and he was amazing, and he's there with Riley Higgins as well. Like, just two amazing options in a really favorable matchup against the Highlanders. But probably the key thing to note here is that Balin Sullivan, he's actually starting on the right wing for the Hurricanes, so he's going to have a lot more opportunity than you normally would, even in the midfield for the Canes. And we saw in that game where Kanina Hollow went off and he went onto the wing, and I believe he went onto the right wing and got those 4 tries. Was mostly from kicks. I don't think that the Canes will need to employ that sort of kicking option against the Highlanders. They should be able to get around their defense, I think. But still, I mean, a midfielder on the wing is always a good option to consider. And in this matchup, yeah, really hard for me to look past Sullivan. I would take him over Higgins for sure. You do have other options this week though, probably not as good as these Hurricanes options, but you can only take 4 players from one team, right? So yeah, you might find yourself favoring one player over another and trying to shuffle people around, and it'll depend on who you can replace them with players from other teams that aren't the Hurricanes. So you've got more options here. I mentioned before, Bailey Kunzel, he is back on the wing for the Force. And yeah, I like them against the end draw as well. I think there's going to be points on offer there. So Kunzel is good. You've also got Corey Evans as well. We've talked about him before in previous weeks. He is starting at fullback for the Blues against Moana. I did like him against the Endura last week. I like what I saw out of him because he was carrying the ball a lot, right? He wasn't favoring the boot. He was really bringing the ball back when he saw it was on, and he was connecting well with his outsides as well as carrying it himself. So potentially he could go well this week, although I do expect the Blues will mostly get the job done with their forwards. So yeah, not necessarily an amazing option, but one to be aware of. And other than that, Yosefo Masi is back this week as well, starting at 13. And yeah, he's been a pretty good option in the midfield if you happen to really like the Endura's chances against the Force. And for the 10s this week, pretty much a 2-horse race for me. You've got Beauden Barrett and Callum Harkin. Maybe in a distant third, you could consider Armstrong Ravula and Pasatoa. It's too bad Pasatoa is listed in this fly half category. He's only played at 12 for them. He would be someone worth considering in the midfield if this was a different week and I wasn't picking Hurricanes. But yeah, it's pretty much Barrett and Harkin, and this is pretty much going to come down to if you like getting Hurricanes in other positions. If you've already picked your 4 Canes, you like them over Harkin, then Beauden Barrett, he's definitely not a bad alternative to go for instead. And yeah, he'll be solid as usual against Moana. He's going to get the kicking duties. And yeah, last time he got 55 points against them. That was including 1 try. I do expect them to have a 40 to 50 point haul for this game. And yeah, I do really like Callum Harkin. I like him more than Barrett. I feel like Harkin, he could be in line for like a 60, 70 point game with a lot more upside. Whereas with Barrett, I mean, there's a little bit of upside, but not as much as Harkin. So yeah, it's definitely really worth considering picking up Harkin if you haven't already got 4 Canes, but it's also considering, you know, picking him over Hurricanes in other positions as well if you're at that 4 Cane limit. And moving on to the 9s, I mean, our boy Cam Roigard, he's back this week. He's pretty much always the guy whenever he's available. We do need to consider a second option though, because I do believe, like if you look at my lineup here, I'm seriously considering picking up Harkin, and if I wanted to do that, I'd need to drop one of these Canes, and I'm thinking the one I'd drop, it'd be the Punavai or Cam Roigard, right? Because Roigard, he's always really solid. He's always good for sort of like 40, 50 points. He has posted bigger scores earlier in the season as well, so he does have pretty good upside. But yeah, he's pretty much a 40 to 50 point guy. And yeah, you might want to just go with Noah Hotham instead, free up the slot, and then maybe pick up Cam Harkin, or you know, a Hurricane somewhere else where you feel like you want to do that. So yeah, that's the main reason to consider another halfback this week, and pretty much Hotham is the only one I would be looking seriously at, just because I do like him in that matchup against the Waratahs. And moving on to the back rowers, probably the biggest one I want to point out to you this week to be aware of is that Kane Koteka, he is starting for the Force in the 7 jersey. Carlo Tizzano, he is still injured this week. And I don't know if you watched that game last week, the Force against the Brumbies, but Koteka, he did actually get a try off the back of the maul. So it seems to be the case that yeah, it's always the 7 who does that job at the back of the maul. So yeah, the Force, they love to maul. They're gonna maul against the Endure. The Endure, they have had a pretty soft maul defense this year. Last time they played, the Force did get, I think, at least three maul tries against the Endure, or at least Nick Dolly got 3 of them. I'm not sure if Tizano was playing that game or if he got any as well, but yeah, it could be that Koteka, he gets to benefit from being the maul guy, the guy at the back of the maul for the Force against the Endure. So I'm definitely taking him this week, and you probably want to seriously consider him as well, even though he's probably not really a guy on a lot of people's radar. And you can see as well, he made like 1 million tackles. So yeah, seems like a pretty handy player in general. Beyond that though, I guess the elephant in the room, it's these Moana guys, the Usos, Adi, Miracle, and Tupuotai Loa. I feel like fading them this week, honestly. Like, just because this game against the Blues, it's gonna be tough for them. It's gonna be a forwards battle, and if we look at how things went last time, none of them did that well. I mean, Adi, he got 25, Miracle got 30, Tupuotai Loa got 37, got a try, which isn't too bad. But yeah, it's not gonna be a stroll in the fields for these Moana guys this week. It's, Adi's not gonna have that crazy game like he did against the Highlanders, where he's just playing like a back right. And Miracle, he's not gonna power over the line 3 times against the Blues, right? It's not going to be the easiest week for them. Still, your alternatives aren't really that amazing, so I probably would pick up Adi. I possibly still might if I end up making any changes due to weather or something. But other options I like: Christian Leo Willie coming up against the Waratahs, softer opposition. He's been in good form. I do like him a lot. And of course, your Hurricane Backrowers, Yosei and Lakai both starting. Yosei goes really well in those kind of open games as well, where there's a lot of running. He did really well in that Waratahs game. So yeah, I am kind of a fan of picking him. I don't have any Canes because I'm just buying all the backs this week. But yeah, if you've got space there, you might want to consider him if you haven't doubled down on the Canes backs like I have. He might get subbed though. I think Karifi's on the bench, or Shields is on the bench, and quite often Shields has traded places with Yosei this year. More often than not, they've preferred to leave Lakai on the field, so that's something to keep in mind. I do kind of like Thanakai Vada this week. Yeah, just he's coming up. He's come off the bench these last couple of games, and I believe Salawa is on the bench this game as well. So even though Thanakai Vada is starting, he probably will get subbed for Salawa, but he could go quite well against the Force. And beyond that, I mean, Fraser McWright, he's always solid. Tough game against the Brumbies, but the sort of game where he might still go pretty well. There'll be a lot of tackles on offer, turnovers. He can play on that side of the ball defensively as well as, play in a game where they're getting a lot more ball in their favor. And lastly, last options, Hoskins to Tudu. Yeah, I feel like I said before, they're going to try and grind the Moana down up front, and, the tries that get scored, they're probably going to be forwards tries scored from close range, and that's something that Hoskins can do pretty well. And didn't go that amazing against them last time. Well, he did get a try, but still didn't get that many points. So, yeah, this is probably my softest pick in the back row. If I was going to swap him out, I might get Adi, I might get McWright, I don't know, but he's been in good form lately, so I'm keeping Hoskins in there for now. And with the locks, only thing I've noted this week is that our boy Wanga, he is finally back, and I expect he'll do really well this week against the Force as well. There's going to be a lot of those line breaks on offer for him. Conditions will be good too, so he is a must pick for me in this slot. And beyond him, I mean, you can, yeah, it's the usual story. Pick whoever you like. Nick Frost, he's always solid without much upside. Williams, I do like a lot. Those Force blocks have been very good. Lineouts been very good. And yeah, I mean, I don't mind picking a Force player against the Endure. So yeah, Williams, definitely not a bad option. Kind of the same story with your Crusaders locks as well. Shalfoon's been very good. And Cullen Grace, I mean, he's starting at 6 again. Probably not going to get subbed either. I believe Kello's on the bench, and last week Kello came on for Tom Christie, who's also starting for the Crusaders this week. So Grace, he should get a full 80 if they follow the same logic there. But otherwise, Shalfoon's a solid pick as well. I mean, he's probably better than Grace, to be honest. I'm just going with Grace because I think he will be on there for the full 80. And at hooker, pretty much everyone's in play this week, but probably my number one option is Ioane Moananu. So great around the park and good at his set piece work as well. But yeah, in that Waratahs matchup, I think there'll be opportunities around the park. So he's my top pick. Ricky Riccatelli's not too far behind him. Been super solid all year, like just one of the most consistent players. Elmore will be good coming up against the Highlanders in an open game, but rather use my Canes picks elsewhere. Tavita, it kind of vary. He's getting another start, and he's been way better off the bench this year than he has been starting. But again, just because this is against the Force at home at Lautoka, I think he will go quite well in good conditions. He is a hooker who can play ball in the open, so yeah, really like him a lot. And Billy Pollard's back this week as well, and we all know how strong that Brumbies maul is, and yeah, he's scored a lot of more tries this year, so he's in play as well. But hard to look past Moananu and Riccatelli. And then with the props, probably the most important thing to note here is that Falidi Saitaufa'o, he is back and starting this week. To refresh your memory, this is the guy that had that crazy game against the Waratahs where he got 3 tries. He was carrying so hard, like he just was busting them from 10 meters out. He was so dangerous close to the line. Excellent ball carrier. He is back and starting, but it's against the Blues. And that's like the one matchup where this guy probably isn't going to get that much purchase, unfortunately. It's still worth considering them though, just because he's got that upside, right? He's got that try scoring ability, so you're not risking losing much because he'll just get a regular prop score, and if it's his day, it's his day. He'll score a try and then he'll be one of the top scoring props. So yeah, definitely a guy to consider. Otherwise, there's Alan Alatoa, who's been super consistent, scored a lot of close range tries this year. Hopefully the streak continues. He's a solid pick. Tom Robertson, he's been one of our favorites since the early days, but yeah, he does better in games like last week where the other team's hogging possession and he can make a lot of tackles, or games where they get a lot of scrum ball. Or this game here where he got that breakout try from like halfway. That's probably not to be repeated. But yeah, this game against the Draw, I mean, there could be a lot of scrums, I guess. But yeah, they're probably going to get a lot of ball in their own hands as well. So yeah, I don't know. Always a solid option, but maybe not the week to pick him. Angus Bell, normally like him a lot, but that's a tough Crusaders scrum and tough Crusaders defense. Like he likes to make up a lot of points with his ball carrying ability and those tackle busts, but he probably won't be getting them this week. One option I do like though is actually Josh Fisher-Tua. He's been quite solid lately, picking up a couple of tries. No, just got the try in this draw game. And yeah, blue scrum, that's sort of pretty solid, but not dominant enough to rack up penalties. So they get a lot of scrum points as well, him and Renata in recent weeks. And he's pretty good close to the line as well. He's got that try scoring ability, and the Blues obviously do like to, you know, get on your line and just bash away with their forwards. So yeah, he's kind of worth considering just because he can be one of those guys who gets one of those tries, and that'll make him one of the top picks for the prop slot. So, and as far as captains and boosters, I'm actually really not sure who to captain this week, to be honest. Like, I feel like all these Canes are gonna go really well, but I'm not sure who's gonna go best. Like, I wish Kinina Hollow was still there because I would be locked in on him. But I mean, yeah, like all these guys, Proctor, Sullivan, gonna go good. Punavai historically hasn't gone as good as the rest in the Hurricanes, but he's starting on the left wing this week, and he's in that position where Naholo would be. So yeah, he's kind of gonna be getting all the ball that Naholo would. I think he might go well this week. And then the other option, of course, is Harkin as well. Like, I would feel good about captaining Harkin, but yeah, I'm just kind of worried he does get subbed when Brett Cameron comes on, and that just kind of limits his potential, brings him back in line with these other guys. So yeah, I actually don't know this week, guys. Let me know who you're considering, but it's going to be one of these Hurricanes. It might be Proctor. If I bring in Harkin, it might be Harkin. I mean, Bowden's going to be solid, but his potential probably on average isn't as high as these guys. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tricky. It's going to be one of these Hurricanes, though. I just haven't decided which one yet. You can't go wrong with any of them, but I do want to think about it and try and work out which one will be number one. And as far as boosters go, yeah, I feel like this is definitely a real serious opportunity to use whatever boosters you might have left. If you've got the dual captains booster, I mean, yeah, this is a great opportunity to spread it out amongst these Hurricanes here. Whether you go for Sullivan and Harkin, or even via Proctor or something like that, I think you can't go wrong doing that. Or Ruben Love if you got Ruben Love as well. Bit of a gamble on that one though. Hopefully he does switch to fullback if you do that. But with the triple captain, that one's a little bit trickier just because, like I said, I don't know which one is going to be the one that really goes gangbusters. You can probably play it safe by going with Proctor. He's probably the safest one to do well on average, or maybe Harkin. But yeah, maybe Sullivan, he gets the massive score. Maybe it's Punavai who gets the massive score. I don't know, but you probably can't go wrong using it on one of these guys this week. They're probably all going to go quite well. And even if you don't get the one who's like the number one out of all of them, they're probably still all going to do better than whatever picks you might be looking at going forward. But don't panic if you don't know what to do with your booster or you don't want to use it yet. There are still opportunities to come in the next couple of rounds as well. Like, we're going to have the Chiefs at home against Moana, Crusaders at home against the Landers next week. Then you got Canes at home against Moana in the final round. Reds at home against the Draw in the final round as well. So there's definitely still remaining opportunities. But yeah, you're going to have to use it sooner or later. I think this is as good an opportunity as any. And this time of year, you also risk running into bad conditions for the next couple of rounds as well. So yeah, just make a decision. It kind of sucks that we just can't just pick DMAC and be done with it, but that's the fun of the game. Anyway, guys, that'll do it from me for this week's picks. Hopefully you found it useful. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know who you're picking as well. Especially let me know who you think will go well as captain, because I'm really not sure. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the games when they happen this weekend as well. And I will catch you next week for the recap.